I'm feeling a little anxious about starting up school. I need to just take it step by step, slowly, and not rush the process.
I'm James. I am an information sponge. Yeah, I like to read everything I can, learn everything I can, and stay busy, I guess. I'm like at home, you know. For one, I didn't know I had post-traumatic stress disorder, right? For two, I didn't care, right? And then the third thing is it didn't stop. You know, it just kept going. And then more things piled up, you know. Imagine being in this mode where like you can't trust nothing. And if someone does care, you know, you're like, it doesn't even sound realistic for me to stop and think about my life. I've had two really cool doctors. They weren't even mental health doctors, they were just medical. But they were like, oh God, this is obviously PTSD. I didn't know that I was even suffering from trauma, but that's because I didn't know that the things that I was going through wasn't normal.
My name is Adnan. I was born and raised here in Seattle, Washington. My parents come from Bosnia and Herzegovina. From my family just going through the war, that gave me like generational PTSD as it is. And my dad, he didn't have a great relationship with my mom. And at the age of 11, he assaulted her, ended up going to prison, then a couple years later got deported. So I didn't have a father figure during my teenage life, which led me to have more severe PTSD and get into drugs. That was my coping method. You know, I would first start off with marijuana, slowly but surely, you know, in high school, went to parties, then I went to the harder things. It was difficult because I would always tell myself like, oh, it's okay, like it's like another day, you know, but it really wasn't though, you know. I was just pushing it to the side and I wasn't dealing with the problem right then and there, and I didn't ask for the right help.
The goal of therapy is to help people get their lives back. That's what people want. They want to connect with their kids. They want to be able to have quality relationships with their loved ones. They want to be able to go out and enjoy life again. And PTSD is a thief. It steals those things from people. Brain exposure therapy, in many ways, isn't a new therapy. It comes from work that's been around for quite a while, about using writing to help people make sense of and organize distressing life events. But what the treatment developers did was really meticulous research to both see how to use this technique to work on very serious events, traumatic life events, and to look at how to structure the therapy in a way to increase people's response to the treatment. In the first session, typically what would happen is the therapist would explain how the therapy is supposed to work. They teach a little bit about what are the symptoms of post-traumatic stress disorder. Many people may have all of these symptoms, but no one's ever told them what those mean. And it can feel like someone's going crazy. Why am I having these nightmares? Why is my heart racing when anyone walks up behind me? And all of a sudden they find out, oh, this label, that's what this means. So that's the first step, is what is PTSD? And then we start a process that's called exposure. And exposure is just a fancy label for something that many of us know about, which is approaching something that we're scared of or that brings up really strong memories again and again until it becomes less distressing. So with written exposure therapy, each writing exercise is pretty brief. People tend to write for about 30 minutes in a session. And then they spend the end of the session talking with the therapist about what it was like and what they noticed by doing this writing exercise. The next session, the therapist gives them feedback about how to improve or how to build on what they wrote the session before. So for example, I noticed that you put in a lot of details about what happened during the event, but this time, can you write more about what you felt? Write about the emotions. Written exposure therapy is effective in 5 or 6 sessions.
I was feeling exhausted from work and going to the gym. I need to figure out my schedule for work and school coming up in summer. A random thought I had was thinking about the health of my grandpa, since he's the only grandparent I have left on both sides of the family. And so I didn't want to take the medication just because, first of all, with the drugs before. So I took the writing process down, and then we met every couple weeks. I can feel when I'm writing, like my anger build up, when I'm writing about the little details and stuff like that. My emotions were high, but towards the end, I settled down, calmed down, and actually having someone there to talk about it and reflect on it after the 15-minute writing session is done, and figure out how your emotions are feeling, how can you regulate those emotions and all that. And it was very convenient, plus, it's super close to where I live, and just, I feel like also just is the comfort feeling, I felt when I woke up every morning, like I was at peace, I was calm, because the program actually helped me start myself journaling and reading about self-improvement, and ways to cope with my PTSD, and made me actually open my eyes up and make me put the effort myself into my PTSD recovery. So.
It was hard to even consider that at first, to even consider writing any of it down, because I still didn't know what it was. So we had to pick something to start from, But what I would say is, even though it sounds ridiculous, when you can stomach whatever it is you wrote, read it real quick. Otherwise, you won't be able to identify. You won't be able to forgive no one.
Hi, my name is Anna. I'm James's girlfriend. With this program, he's held accountable for what he's supposed to be doing. He thinks before he does. And so it does help out, because he actually reads what he wrote down. He's like, wow. And then he feels like, I need to be, more accountable for what I'm doing. The James 2 years ago scares me, but the James now he holds more accountability of what he's doing, and he's more responsible. And I think that's, it's a good thing for him. The program helps him just be, a more accountable person. When the PTSD doesn't kick in, he's a really actually very happy, funny person. Yeah. And so I do think that, the therapy and the STEPS program and the written does help him a lot, because he can review what what he wrote down on paper and say, you know what, that's really not something I want to hold on to.
One day at a time. Yeah. The journey for me is all I got to do is get through today. And then tomorrow, we'll think about that tomorrow. Yeah. I feel like I'm on a road to being saved in some way,